All right, welcome back, everybody. Lot of absences today, so yes, lot of absences today. So announcements. Let's go over some announcements. So today I'm going to cover the second chapter in Computing Essentials 2023. It's over the internet and the web. You likely know some of the things that I'm going to talk about, but I'm going to talk about them anyway. I sent out reminders to people that did not do the sim books for Word Chapter 1 and or the projects. So it's 53% of your grade. Yes, I'm pointing at you. 53% of your grade. So again, the sim books are your responsibility outside of class. I'm going to say it again today. I may as well just say it in a moment, but let's get to that, shall we? So I don't know if you're going to see this many options when it's time to buy SimNet. But the option you should pick is the $108 option. It should be down to one option. One or two options should be all you see. But it's going to be the one that says SimNet 365 2021. Yes, those are 2021. In practice, Nordell, Office, Intro. It does say Excel complete. I know that's weird, but that's the option. I promise you that's the option. It should be, I should have narrowed it down to just that one option. So hopefully you don't see a whole bunch of those. All right, again, friendly reminder, when we're in the classroom, we cover the 2023 chapter content, and we do SimNet projects like we did on Thursday. So yes, if you missed it, don't worry, it's been recorded. You can follow along with it and complete the first project at your leisure. Outside the classroom, the 2023 exams, the Computing Essentials 2023 exams, the individual research project, which I will give you midway through the class, and also your sim books and lessons. So I've had somebody ask, what do I do outside the class? Here's your reminder for what to do outside the class. So this week, it's going to be Word Chapter 2 that you should be working on for the sim books this week before we get to the project on Thursday. All right, let's get to the content. I have a lot of content today, so I will do my best not to ramble. That's something I get really, really bad at in this chapter, so I'm just going to go for it, this chapter. All right, so there was a time, actually, believe it or not, there was a time where we had to wait in line for stuff, or we actually had to socialize with people, or we actually had to, yes, do everything in person as opposed to doing things online. There was that time. And yes, it was boring for some of us. It was really, really, really like boring. It was boring out of our minds, having to wait in line for something for like an hour or 2 hours or 4 hours. Like it stunk. It was horrible. You didn't have a phone to look at and you just had to stand there and waiting. Like it was the worst. So keep in mind that there were actually times like that. Now, the internet and the web. I talked about this in chapter 1. Keep in mind that the internet, I wanted you to think of as like the physical infrastructure, the cables, the servers, the computers, the satellites. That's the internet. It was formed in 1969. It was from ARPANET, the Advanced Research Project Agency Network, and it consisted of four physical sites: Stanford, University of California, Los Angeles, University of California, Santa Barbara, and University of Utah. Those were the four main sites in 1969. So for a long time, the internet was only available to two types of people. I said this last week too. Military and for those in academia or academics. And that was pretty much it. Regular people like you and I, because we're regular people. Well, I mean, technically I'm not, but I'm just going to say I'm a regular person, okay? We didn't have access to see any of this. Or if we did, through our colleges, it was all in text format. We had no like visual way to see it. So in 1991, Sir Tim Berners-Lee, featured in the bottom right corner of the slide, came up with a web browser called World Wide Web. It's all one word. He developed what was called World Wide Web. Now keep in mind that he did not invent hyperlinks. You can go and look this one up. He wanted to use hyperlinks for the web so that you can always click on something to get some kind of resource that was stored on the internet. But keep in mind that hyperlinks actually date back to the 60s and 70s. I forget which decade, but it was way back then, when people who were developing print created these links where you could jump to like another chapter of the book, another chapter of the book, another chapter of the book. So he used that technology that had already existed for the World Wide Web. He said, how come we can't use this to direct people to resources all over the planet? So keep in mind, the web came a lot later. The web is visual. Okay, that's what I said, through web browsers. There are 3 generations of the web. We're currently in the 3rd. When the web first came out in the early, mid-90s, we pretty much only did one thing with it, and that was to search for information. That's all we ever used it for, was to search for information. We had a whole bunch of websites out there. We had our search engines, and we would go to a search engine and search for stuff. And that was pretty much it. You weren't chatting with people. You weren't doing anything in Web 1. Web 2 came along. Facebook still exists. And that helped set off Web 2.0. So we're talking MySpace, we're talking Facebook, we're talking any of the ancient, I call them the ancient social media platforms. We're talking, that was Web 2.0. But now everything's personalized. Everything is custom for us. It's Web 3.0, and that's where we're at now. A lot of times we deal with bots. We don't deal with real people when we're chatting. I know this because I've tested all these different bots, and yes, you can ask it the same question over and over and over. It'll give you different answers. I'm like, but that's the same question I just asked. But it's a different weird response. So, and sometimes they'll say, well, reply back with like client name and like brackets. And I'm like, well, that's weird. I gave them my name. That should have worked. So anyway, everything's personalized now. I've been actively trying to find a better graphic than this. This is still the best graphic that I found. January 2023, keep in mind that's what the date of this data is. So Google, I don't know if that surprises you, gets the most hits, gets the most views. 85.1 billion. YouTube is second. That shouldn't surprise you either, I hope. Facebook was still 3rd at this time. I'm really curious as to what it is now. I've been trying to find that information, but I couldn't. Twitter is now called X, of course, right? Then there's Instagram, you see that up there as well. Wikipedia is up there also. You'll notice that's a pretty big one. Down the bottom, I get asked about that one, just to the right of YouTube in that red circle. It's called Baidu. That's a Chinese search engine. So of course it's gonna get a lot of usage as well. You can see all the different websites. Think about pre-COVID. I know you were all alive pre-COVID, okay? So this college, yeah, I'm gonna say this recorded, okay? This college like freaked out, like many instructors, like college-wide, freaked out because they didn't know how to teach online classes. Guess who had all his stuff recorded already? So I mean, like, we just went from the classroom to online, and they're like, you're not gonna make us actually like sit like in a session, you're just gonna record the stuff and we're just gonna do it? I got a lot of favorable, like, that was awesome type stuff. And everybody did their work, and I just would contact the class once a week and say, hey, I hope you're all doing good, and that was that. So that's why I say, like in my in-person class, if you do your work and you wanna do the rest from home, that's fine. It's just like taking the class. So anyway, let's move on. I said I wasn't gonna ramble. Book talks about online entertainment. I hope you know that there's a lot of different places to get entertainment now online. We're still using internet service providers, whether we like it or not. You're using one in this room right now. You don't see it. You don't like physically see it. I know we've been using Cox forever as a district, so that's what we're using. But the internet service providers give us that connection for us to access the internet and all of the resources. And yes, the 2024 ones are up here based on PC Magazine has been doing this forever, like forever. So you'll notice that Google Fiber is first, followed by T-Mobile, Xfinity, etc. How far down is Cox though? Dang, I don't even see, is that CenturyLink? CenturyLink's the other one? I don't even see that on here. CenturyLink always used to be on here with Cox. Now it's not on here anymore. because a lot of people are using fiber internet now, or they're using 5G cellular services now, and that's why you see the ones that you see up here. Okay, moving on. All right, so as I said earlier, we need to use a web browser to access those resources on the internet. That's the only way we can do it, is through a browser. Well, okay, or an app. I guess you can argue with me that there are apps, right? Like when we use a banking app, perhaps we're accessing the information on the bank's servers, right, to get our information. So there are 6 browsers up here. What's the one in the upper left? Safari, correct, yes, good one. What's the one in the upper right? It's a Fox that's on fire, yes, Firefox is correct. I hope you know the one in the middle. Chrome, yes, that's Chrome. What about the red O? Yes, Opera, very good, yes. Yes, I'm going to show you some numbers here in a bit as far as like usage over the last 15 years. I have a really sweet graphic coming up, just be ready for that. Opera, and you'll see why I did this. What's the one in the right, to the right of Opera? Edge. It is now Edge, correct. I keep getting people, at least one that says Internet Explorer, but you all said Edge at the same time, so thank you for doing it. Now, what's the one on the bottom that I had to like slide in here? Come on, Android people, there's a certain phone, there's a certain brand of phone. What's one of the major manufacturers of Android phones?
Samsung?
Yes, Samsung. That's Samsung Internet, by the way. And yes, that is actually the 6th most used browser. And oh yes, so when we access sites on the web or content on the web, we use Uniform Resource Locators, or URLs. All right, here's my graphic. So actually, Samsung Internet jumped Opera in the last 4 months, believe it or not. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm first gonna, people over here, I'm gonna start like down here I'm gonna start down on the left side of the slide, and I'm going to move right. I'm not gonna have it track me while I do this. All right, so this goes from 2009 to present. And you'll notice in 2009, there's this blue line. In which direction does the blue line go over time? Into the abyss. That's what I call it. Down, it just goes down and down. So when I first started teaching this class, which was before 2009, I didn't have these types of stuff to show. Internet Explorer was on literally every computer. Like it was 95, 97% of the market. In 2009, as you saw, it was below 70. And then you see some other lines here. You see an orange line, Firefox. And you see a green line, which is Chrome. Look how far down Chrome was in 2009. And it went up which direction? Up. So I'm going to tell you this. Now I'm going to come over here. So now today, you notice what Safari did. Safari was way down there too. And now it's second. So my question to you, the class, without me rambling, why is Chrome number 1? You should know this.
Most used?
Chrome is number 1 because...
It's on a fairly popular operating system.
No. It's installed where? It can be installed where?
Everywhere?
All devices?
Pretty much almost every device, right? Even Macs, right? Like, yeah. Like, oh, and I gotta remind people, if you're trying to do some books on a Mac and you get an error, you gotta download Chrome or Firefox to get around. You can't use Safari for that issue. So you gotta download it anyway. So when you get a new computer these days, I just got one, it has Edge on it automatically. Do you think I wanna use Edge? Heck no, look at that number. 4%? No thanks. So I install Chrome. There's memes out there that say I only use Edge to install Chrome. That's true, that's the truth. So you will notice though that, so here's the weird part too. If you look up the history of Google and you do any research on the early days of Chrome, you're gonna find that there are a bunch of writers out there that thought it would never reach 20% market share. It's never gonna make it. You see what happened. It obviously took off. Why is Safari second though? Because it comes on which devices?
Apple devices.
Right, all Apple devices, right, correct. And that's why it's second. Chrome is first because it can be installed anywhere. That's the biggest difference. As for the rest of the stuff that's down in the abyss, that includes Samsung Internet over the last several, like you can see it, over the last year has actually held steady Edge has held steady in the last year in that third spot, like just entrenched in that third spot. And for those of you that don't know, Firefox used to be called Netscape Navigator in the really old days. That's what that was called. Yes, so that's what it became over time. Moving on. So I talked about URLs or Uniform Resource Locators. There are several different parts to this. The first part is what is called the protocol, and that's going to be a question somewhere, either on a quiz, an exam. It's going to be a question somewhere. Keep in mind that the protocol are essentially the rules on what's going to be transferred from the server to the client. Yes, this is the client. Your phones are the clients. It's not the servers. So HTTP means Hypertext Transfer Protocol. Most of the time we deal with HTTPS, or Hypertext Transfer Protocol Secure, especially when we're dealing with email. There was a time where email wasn't HTTPS, it was just HTTP. When we're dealing with banking sites, when we're dealing with any type of commerce site, it's S. It should always be S. But that's called the protocol. That's the rules for transferring data between the computers. Then you have a subdomain. Google has a bunch of subdomains. If you think about it, they have images.google.com, scholar.google.com, maps.google.com. Like I can go all day on that. But they have a bunch of different subdomains. But the domain name is normally between the subdomain and the top level domain. So I believe you have an extra credit activity for this chapter that I give you. I'm just going to talk about it right now. You actually have an activity this chapter where I require you to find 10 different domain names. That's the middle part. For 11 different categories. I get people trying to just give me 10 for one category and submit it. No, I want 10 for all 11 categories. That means you're giving me 110 different domain names. I don't want the www and I don't want the .com. I just want the middle part. I just want the domain name. You should just be able to type it right in the little cells. It's an Excel spreadsheet. You should be able to open it up and just type it in and upload it and submit it. Almost everybody gets the 5 points for this one. And if you don't do it, I'm going to tell you to do it again. If you send me something and it's not complete, I'll just have you do it again. And you can submit it again. So it's 5 points if you want it. Top level domains, there are a lot of these. .com, .biz, .org, .edu, .bike, .museum. There's a whole bunch of different dots now for top level domains. There are literally 1,000 or more of them out there. Yes, you can go research. What is it? ICANN, the ICANN website, has all kinds of different top-level domains that are out there, and it shows you which ones are being applied for. Yes, you can apply for a top-level domain through there as well. Anything that you see after the top-level domain, oh, speaking of which, all the country codes on the bottom. We also have over 100 country code top-level domains, as you see down below, like .it, .au, .br, etc. There's over 100 of those as well. Anything that you see after the top-level domain where you see a slash, there's usually a file path of some kind. You might see a whole bunch of folders after, like slash this, slash this, slash this. So I still do this to this day. If I don't find what I'm looking for, and I'm like, hey, it's got a whole bunch of slashes. What if I just like cut it off, like delete, and see if I can dig in there and get more information? Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It just depends what website that you're on and what you have access to. So if you ever see a whole bunch of folders with slashes and you're like, I'm kind of curious what I can find in here, you can always cut the end off and try to get in there and find that. All right, enough of that. So why do we care about hypertext markup language? I mean, seriously, why do we care about it? Well, I'm going to tell you why I care about it. I care about it because when I go to a website, if I can't find what I'm looking for within, I don't know, let's go 15 seconds, I move on. I do a lot of research. Yes, I'm a student, just like you. I write a ton of essays. And I'm going to tell you, when I go and read something, if it's not what I'm looking for, I go on to the next source, and I go on to the next source, and I go on to the next source. But if there's like a ton of ads or something, I don't want to go through all those ads. I want the content. So HTML is extremely important. I'm just letting you know this. From a user experience standpoint, that's you. That's you going to a website. When you go to a website, you should be able to find what you want within 15 seconds too. Otherwise, why did you go there? Right? I mean, it's a valid question. Why did you go there if they don't have what you're looking for? You go on to the next one. That's why we care. We care because we want to find things easily. We don't want to find things like dig down to have to find something. Phoenix College's website had problems for years. To be able to go to find a class, to add a class, I had to like scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page, and I finally found the link. I'm like, why would they have that there? Why can't they have it at the top? Like trying to find Canvas. They used to not have that link at the top of the site either. You had to like dig to find that too. And I was like, why are we making our students do this? So, yes, I actually had my web design students actually give, like, so I taught that class a bunch of times too. Having the web design students come up with these ideas, and then we submit them all to the webmaster of the college and say, here are all the problems the students found with the website. She's like, that was just one class? So then I got the webmaster to actually teach that class here. Anyway, moving on. So I talked about hyperlinks before, which there are literally billions, trillions of resources out there. You're never going to get through them all. I'm not going to have you discuss this, but that's you and me, we download a lot more than just web pages from the web. Like we download documents, we download videos. Okay, YouTube people, you do download that video. When you go to watch it, that content has to be downloaded for you to be able to see the whole thing without any problems whatsoever. Yes, it doesn't download like physically to your computer, but like it downloads to your web browser so you can actually view it. And then the next time you go to it, to watch it again, it will be faster because you've already watched it. So we download all kinds of stuff, audio, we download all, Anyway, moving on. There are several different technologies that the web uses. And if you're ever interested in the web development degree program, which we have here, you're gonna learn about all this stuff. So anyhow, that's right, my bachelor's degree people have to take that first class too, where you have to learn about hypertext markup language and cascading style sheets. So the purpose of cascading style sheets is we create one document that has all the styles for all the colors, the fonts, what we want everything to look like on every web page for consistency. So we apply that cascading style sheet to each HTML file, and it makes the whole HTML file look nice and neat with all the different colors and everything. So we don't have to edit every single HTML file anymore. We essentially just edit the CSS if we want it to look different. Like if we want the colors to look different, if we want the fonts to look different, we do it there. And it just applies to all the pages, which is really nice. Keep in mind, and I have the note at the bottom of this slide, JavaScript is what we call a scripting language. It is not a programming language. Java, on the other hand, is a programming language. Now you will notice that JavaScript, which you can put things on sites like calendars and the current date and time, and you can make the mouse move around and make it look different scripts, but those are scripts. You can copy and paste those from the web, literally. You can find them on the web and copy and paste them into your HTML code and make the script work. Java, on the other hand, like to create online games, that's a programming language, like Java applets, for example. So online games, online forums as well. There are forums where if your computer's not fast enough, it's gonna have the Java logo and it's gonna sit there and spin until the form appears. And so Java applets are used for forums, online interactive forums as well. Just keep that in mind. And there's one last thing that I skipped over that I really love, and that is asynchronous JavaScript and extensible markup language. We call that AJAX. See, I have it up there, asynchronous JavaScript and XML. So sites that have databases where the data changes like every second, every minute, you know what types of sites I'm talking about, where data changes all the time, like constantly, like eBay, perhaps. Timer's got to go down at some point. Your travel sites where prices are changing all the time. I used to teach extensible markup language. The beauty of extensible markup language is it allows you to extract data from a spreadsheet, a database, and display it on the web in real time. And you could actually change how fast, like in milliseconds, how fast that refreshes, so that people could see it live online. And we actually did tests with it in the class when I used to teach that. We don't offer it anymore, anywhere district-wide. But it's a really neat technology. All right, I gotta move on. I hope you know what happens on mobile browsers. Usually the websites are smaller on the phone than they are on your devices here in the class. So everything is going to appear a lot smaller. You're not gonna see as many animations either on mobile devices. There are 4 different types of web utilities. I'm gonna go into this next part. Again, we got a lot to cover today, so I'm just gonna keep going here. So this next part, I'm gonna go over plugins, filters, file transfer utilities, and internet security suites. So plugins. Normally, when you get a new computer, you fire up your web browser and everything's working. You can open PDF files, you can watch videos, there's no issues. But sometimes you may come across a device where you can't open that PDF in the web browser, and you have to install the plugin, the Adobe Acrobat plugin for that. So most of the time now, our browsers already have all these plugins, but sometimes there's the event where you can't watch something. Oh, Java, that's another plugin that constantly seems to need updating. Like I always get reminders, do you want to update Java? Sometimes I say no, because I just don't want to do it. And sometimes I say yes. As long as it's on my computer and everything's working, I could care less. I honestly could care less. But sometimes if you can't view something or hear something or see something inside your web browser, you might get prompted like, do you want to install this plugin to see it or view it? So that's the purpose of plugins. Filters. Believe it or not, I don't want to talk about family or a nanny or any of that stuff on the right. Employers have filters. Yes, employers have filters. You can only view certain sites. You can only view certain things. You might be blocked from all kinds of stuff. So employers use filters as well. So the book gives examples of like family safety and net nanny and take care of your family and see what they're viewing. Look, I've seen what my family's viewing. They're boring. Oh, hope you're not watching this. They're boring. Just like me. If you went and looked at my history, you'd be like, man, that guy does like nothing. He goes to YouTube to get like information on how to like do something, and then he just sits there on his stream all evening, and that's all he does. That's all he does. He listens to some music, and that's about it. Pretty boring, right? So anyway, moving on. We also have file transfer utilities. And the two that I like to talk about are, well, I don't like to talk about BitTorrent, but just keep in mind, because there's like illegal stuff that can happen there. The book used to talk about it a lot as a file transfer utility. I actually use FileZilla, so I am not going to tell you who I do volunteer work for, but as a volunteer webmaster for a couple of different organizations, I use FileZilla, which is really nice because I can transfer files from my desktop straight to the server, and then off the server straight to my desktop so I can work with those. And I can update files really, really fast. So it's essentially drag and drop. Like on one side of the screen, you'll see your files on your computer, and then on the other side, you'll see what's on the server. And so if you want to replace like a document that's on the server, you just drag it from one side to the other. It says, do you want to do this? You say yes, and boom, it automatically updates. So it's pretty sweet. So talk about downloading and uploading. Which one of these two things do you do the most? Do you download or upload more?
Download.
Download more, yes. We all download way more than we upload. Now keep in mind, when you send an email, you're uploading something. When you send somebody a file or a picture, you're uploading something. So those are the times when you would do that. Most of the times, like, we're recording or we're downloading something. We're not uploading as much. So if that's a quiz question or exam question, just keep in mind that yes, downloading is when we're taking files from a server or from somebody else's device, and uploading is like all those examples I just gave you. There's 3 different types of programs that are out there, and I like to argue that Google Drive, I really want you to think about this. Google Drive technically is a web-based file transfer service. You can upload files to Google Drive, and you can download your files or work with your files on Google Drive. So it's web-based. Like you can access it through Chrome, right? Or you can access it on your phone, or you can access it on any computer, right? So I would argue that Google Drive is a web-based file transfer service. Now, we also have, like I said, BitTorrent's another one, File Transfer Protocol, or FTP, is still used as well. Now keep in mind, that's different from HTTP. FTP is File Transfer Protocol. So remember what I said about protocols earlier? It's the rule of transfer between your device and the server. So if you're gonna do it through FTP, you're essentially taking files off of a server, downloading or uploading. All right, moving on. We also have internet security suites for those folks that are worried about their security and privacy. Do you think that I have one of those?
Yeah.
Heck no. I know what I'm doing. So for those of you that like have your routines and you do regular things on the web, I wouldn't worry. I seriously wouldn't worry about this, but I get people that are like, I gotta have one of those. Don't even get me started on password managers. That's coming up in another chapter, but I will give my 2 cents on that. I hope you know what an email is. Okay, I know I shouldn't have to talk about this, but hey, it's a 105 class, and I have to talk about electronic communication. So people still send emails. Essentially, if I have your MEID, I know what your student email address is because it's at maricopa.edu. So your MEID, of course, is your username. Then there's the @ symbol. Then there's maricopa.edu, which is the full domain name. And edu is the top level domain. So this is kind of like what I talked about earlier with URLs. Same type of convention with emails. Keep in mind that the @ symbol, this is not on any quiz or anything, I promise, or extra credit. The @ symbol, you can Google this. 1971, Ray Tomlinson came up with the @ symbol for electronic communication, to be used for electronic communication. That was over 50 years ago, well over 50 years ago. So yes, email has been around for a really, really, really long time. Email has 3 main elements. There's usually a header, which includes your carbon copy and your blind carbon copy addresses. Yes, I use BCC a lot more now than I've used in the past. And yes, it's because I like to cover my behind. So usually I like to have a whole bunch of people on there and nobody knows that it's going to them, but I make sure it goes to them anyway for coverage reasons. Because yes, I don't trust a lot of people, so that's how that works. Anyhow, subject. If you ever send me an email that says no subject, my finger hits the delete key like that. Or I swipe to delete it off of my phone. So yes, when I see no subject, I don't care who the sender is. I just go, whoop, nope, not reading it. And then, of course, we have several attachments that are in there as well. Keep in mind that I've had students go, well, you sent me this. Look, people, if I ever send you a message, it's gonna look like this. It's gonna say greetings or hi, your name, comma, a short message, and then I sign it Nick. If you do not see that format, it did not come from me. Bottom line. So people don't check their headers. So some guy downloaded some file, got a virus, said it came from me, showed me the email. I'm like, did you check the whole header? Who it actually came from? It came from some like .nz address. I'm like, that's not me. But it says it's your name. I'm like, you gotta check that. I'm like, I'm sorry, I didn't send it. I don't know what to tell you. So yeah, I got to use that as an example for many years. And we also have the message. Again, your messages should be short and sweet. If I ever get sent a 10-paragraph email, what do you think I do with it? Like, well, I'm either not gonna read it, or I'm gonna probably read like the first sentence of each 10 paragraphs and go, yeah, great. And I'll reply back with, thank you, Nick. My boss comes storming into my office. You did not read that 10-paragraph email in 5 seconds. There is no way you did that. You know what I told him? You're right. And I'm not going to. He goes, how do I put up with you for all these years? I'm like, I'm putting up with you for all these years. Don't worry, that relationship ended well at the end. Okay. I worked for that guy for 12 years, but he's the one that tried to apologize to me at the end, and I'm like, no, no, no. No, you're not doing that. I said, you did me a favor. So, it ended well. Anyway, there's two types of email systems out there. There's the ones that you access through your phones, for an example, using mail applications. We call those client-based email systems. Microsoft Outlook, if you install the actual application on a computer, that's a client-based email system because it's an application. When it's not an application and we're getting it through the web browsers, it's obviously called a web-based email system. I believe that's one of your questions today. I'm going to tell you, I never had spam until I was like 130 pounds before this past year. Spam is great. Spam is fantastic. But I don't like getting email that's bad. So the good news is, a lot of our web browsers now, because we all have web browsers, right, to check email. Our web browsers now catch a pretty good amount of spam that we don't want to see, which is great. Of course, now we have that damn promotions folder, which if somebody sends me an email and I don't see it, it's like stuffed in the promotions folder like 30 days ago. Nick, you never got my email? I'm like, oh no. Check the promotions folder, it's like 30 days down in there, and I'm like, ah. Students do that to me too. Like, they go, you didn't get my email I sent last week? I go and check the folder, I'm like, really? So I have to like move it to the primary folder in Google so I see it. And then from then on out, I never had to worry about that student again because I kept seeing it. So if you ever send me something and you don't get a response for like a while, please just tell me that you sent me something like a week ago, and I'll go check my promotions folder. That goes for anybody that's watching online. Anyway, every marketing email must allow you to unsubscribe or opt out. That is per the Can-Spam Act. Yes, we all get junk mail that doesn't have an option for us to opt out, and I hope you just delete those, or you put them in your spam folder, or you train your email system to trash it or do something with it. Because yes, not in every case are we gonna have an email that gives us the option to opt out. I've been opting out of a lot of stuff, and believe it or not, it works. Like, I've been seeing a lot less spam than I've ever seen before. Anyway, moving on. I hope you know what messaging is. So if the message is really, really long, it's gonna go from a short message to a multimedia message. Yes, that's text. So if you text too many characters, and on your phone, it warns you now. Like, it warns you, like it tells you how many characters you have left, but you can keep going. So just keep in mind that you can keep going beyond whatever limit they say you have, but it's gonna change it from a short message service to a multimedia message service message. So from SMS to MMS. We have a lot of messaging apps out there. There are way too many for me to talk about. But yes, it seems like people love to message me on Facebook for some reason. I don't know why. They have my cell phone number. Just send me a text message. It's not hard. So anyhow, there's a lot of messaging services out there. I've tried a bunch of these. I can't stand Line. Like, I can't stand Line. And like in these games where you must have a Line account, like, forget that, I ain't joining that group. So just keep in mind there's a lot of them out there. Social networking, I hope you know what this is. Normally it's used for connecting people and organizations through common interests or activities. Yes, that's Pinterest on the right. You get a lot of great recipe ideas from Pinterest. Yes, I do all the cooking in the house, so sorry again if you're watching. You didn't hear that from me. I know it's gonna get back to you that I said that. No, I'm kidding, I'll go home and tell her I said it. So anyhow, here are the other ones. There's several that are in there, like LinkedIn, Snapchat, Facebook. I think one of the quiz questions today are like common groups of people in Facebook or something like that, and there should be groups. There are certain quiz questions I may not mention in class. I think that's one of them that I usually miss. So they're called groups of people. We also have blogs and microblogs, so that is not Wikipedia, that is WordPress. That's the WordPress logo. So Yes, you can create blogs through WordPress, and normally those pages have the most recent items at the top and the most far away items or items posted a long time ago at the bottom. So they're usually in chronological order. X or microblogs allow you to give short updates, even though some of the stuff I see in the media, I'm like, how did they get that many characters on there? So maybe that's changing, I don't know. I have an account, I don't use it. So moving on. No, I do not get my information through X. Now, if somebody posts something like really interesting, like that sparks my brain, then I'll go take a look at that. But outside of that, I don't look at that for anything. Anyway, moving on. There's a difference between webcast and podcast. Right now, this is a webcast. What you're seeing right now is a webcast. But when I move it to YouTube, that's you, it becomes a podcast that you can download later. Scary, right? So technically, I'm doing both right now. And last but not least, we have wikis. And the most famous one out there, as you hopefully know, is Wikipedia. Here is my English tip of the day for you all with Wikipedia. You never, ever, ever, ever say that you got something from Wikipedia, ever, ever. That's like saying you got something from ChatGPT. You don't do that. So what I do, here's the Nick Rouse advice. When I go to Wikipedia and I want to write a 20-page paper in 6 hours, yes, I did that in a doctorate program. I didn't finish the doctorate program, but I did write the 20-page paper in 6 hours. I used nothing but Wikipedia for that whole thing. So all I had to do is type in a topic, it gave me a ton of information, then all the way at the bottom of the page, there's sources. And I'm like, I got all my sources. I put in my references section. And it was beautiful. And I was citing the stuff, and it was gorgeous. So I'm going to tell you, but you always use the sources at the bottom. You never say you got anything from Wikipedia, ever. But you can find this stuff. You got to trust me on this. So take it from the sources. And sometimes they give you like a link on the sources that take you to the web pages, which is even better. And then you can go there and find your stuff and cite that. But never cite Wikipedia. I say this in every class. I swear to you, in my CIS105 class, I had at least one person cite Wikipedia last semester. And if you're ever in my 411 class, in these last 39 months, I think we're at 39 months. It's coming up on February, right? I'm not going to accept that. Okay, moving on. So, we have a lot of search engines out there that you can use, like Google, for example, Bing, for example, etc. We also have specialized search engines like FindLaw, WebMD, Google Scholar, and those are more focused on certain subjects. That's the difference between specialized search engines versus regular search engines. There's also, and this is a quiz question today, this is a quiz question. There's something called a spider that goes through, that these search engines create, and they go through every website to extract data from. So that when you go to search on something, you get a list of hits. We call those hits. That's another answer to one of your quiz questions today. So remember, spiders and hits. You'll be fine. You got 20% of the quiz right there. So those little spiders, yes, this is an actual term. They actually crawl through the data and collect that data and send it to the search engine, the various search engines. So that's how it works. And there's a program that they use to do that. And it extracts that data at a pretty reasonable rate, because if you go and look up information online, most of the time it's updated, but sometimes it's not quite as updated, probably because the spiders need to go back through and search again, search again, search again. I found that with the wildfire stuff. I wasn't getting like current information when I would go Google it. I'm like, why is this delayed? So I blame the spiders. I blame all the spiders. Anyway, I actually talked about this in one of my classes that I'm taking as a student right now. Students should, when you go to review this list of hits, you should evaluate the content on 4 criteria. The first is the authority. Is the person that is writing about this, are they the authority, or is the organization the authority on the subject? That would be like the American what is it, American Cancer Association or whatever, where they write about cancer stuff. Like, that should be the authority. Is it accurate? A lot of people are like, there's a lot of fake news out there, Mr. Rouse. Yes, exactly. It's not accurate. Or worse, it's not objective. There's like a slant, and you see it, and you read it. You will all pick up on this stuff as you read through things. You're going to be like, that doesn't sound right. And if it doesn't sound right to you, guess what? It's probably not right. I'm just throwing that out there. So you should think about that as well. Is it biased? Is it not biased? Now, I'll be honest. When I write a paper, if I want a bias, I'm going to go find it on purpose. But then I got to find the bias on the other end to do the counteracting. I know, my instructors love me because I do stuff like that. But anyway, last but not least, currency does not mean money. It means, is it current? Remember what I just said about the spiders? So maybe the site isn't up to date. Like you heard something on the news, like on the TV, but it's not on the web, and you're like, but then eventually it comes on the web. You just got to give it some time. So is it current? So again, I'm going to go back to the research examples. When I research a topic, personally, for like my instructors, I don't like it to be more than somewhere around 5 to 7 years old, max. My instructors, and I know somebody's got to be listening to this. Oh, by the way, other 105 classes know about this feed now. So I'm just throwing it out there. But anyway, I like to keep it about 5 to 7 years. My instructors, though, sometimes give me something from like 1999, and I'm like, how old was I in 1999? Right? Like really early 20s. Okay, so I'm a much different person now. But I'm telling you, is it current? Like, is it 1999 or is it 2018? Like, I want something that's pertinent to what I'm writing. Now, I guess there are some exceptions, right? Like when we're talking about like organizational behavior theories that came out in like the 70s or the 90s, we can apply it to now, that would be my exception. But when I see somebody give me something like on the current topic that's 25 years old or 26 years old and it's about the topic, I'm like, I can't even do that for my own students. I'm like, I won't provide you with a 25-year-old source, like ever. That's bad. All right, moving on. I told you I was rambling. All right. Oh, hey, I have good news. We're actually going to get done early today. Okay. Of course, where is everybody? I know I scared some people off and all, but I mean, like, okay, all right. Anyhow, I hope they're watching. I hope you're watching. Hope you haven't gone to sleep yet. Wake up. Okay. Last part of this lecture is about electronic commerce. It's known as e-commerce. It's about the buying and selling goods over the internet, and there's 3 major types of e-commerce. There's business to business, consumer to consumer, and what all of us in this room deal with, business to consumer. Because yes, with business to consumer, we're talking about shopping, we're talking about banking, we're talking about investing, we're talking about anything that we buy electronically, that's B2C. Any co-pays you have to pay for appointments online, that's B2C. Or excuse me, yes, it is B2C because you're buying a service, so that's still B2C. But anyway, that's B2C. Let me go with this first. If you haven't heard of eBay or any of those auction sites, a lot of times it's consumer to consumer. However, I know that some of you can argue that eBay could be business to consumer. Can businesses sell to me? Yes, of course they can on eBay. Can businesses sell to other businesses on eBay? Yeah, sure, why not? So it could be all 3 types. But if you're gonna buy something off of me, now, some of you might go, wasn't that what Etsy is? That could be consumer to consumer, right? Like, I make a nice little thing and you buy it from me. That's consumer to consumer, yeah. Mercari's another one.
We talk this one like Facebook Marketplace.
Ah, yes. Facebook Marketplace could be another one. Yes. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Anything that you can think of that now Craigslist is not. And why is it not? It's because I'm not doing what online? I'm not paying for it online. I actually have to go somewhere and get it and make a transaction. So that is not electronic commerce. That is advertising something, and I go to your place and go, hey, that mini fridge looks nice, here's your money. Well, Nick, aren't you gonna plug it in? No, I'm just gonna buy it for cheap and we'll see if it works. It worked, it still works now. That was like many years ago. All right, anyhow, business to business, this is where the most money volume-wise happens in transactions because, yes, organizations need raw materials, they need components, they need toilet paper, they need, yeah, I go back to the toilet paper example. It's like here, right? Like even this building needs toilet paper because, well, people use the toilets here. So yes, we need paper towels, we need Kleenex, we need all kinds of stuff as a business. Maybe we need a bunch of computers. Gotta buy those from somewhere, right? So business to business has massive volumes of transactions. Okay, I hope you know that there's like digital cash out there. Don't worry about the date on this, because all of those are still around now, right? Okay, great. Okay, so keep in mind, it's pretty much a video game for us these days. We don't actually handle cash. We just have a number, and as long as that number is above, we're doing great. As long as it's above that number, we are doing just fine. Of course, my wife was the first one to do the digital stuff in our house, and she goes, we're at the grocery store, and then all of a sudden one day she just pulls out her phone and goes, I'm like getting ready to go pay, and I'm like, I was over there bagging some groceries, and I'm like, helping the cashier, and I'm like, what did you just do? You don't have the app yet? I'm like, oh my God, I gotta get with the times. So I eventually got with the times, now I can do it too, which is nice. So yeah, it is nice, because you just hold your phone up to it and go, okay, paid, done. It's not, somebody's like, I have a Starbucks account that I do that with. I'm sure somebody does in here. So there's always one. I do not, that's my wife's thing. So when she just hands me the phone and goes, just pay with this. And I'm like, okay. They're like, I'm like, that was fast. Okay, I like that. But anyhow, there's all those. I talked about cloud computing last chapter. Yes, I'm going to talk about it several times in this class. If you have not done the extra credit for chapter 1, here's one of your answers. So with cloud computing, it's shifting what we do from our desktops to now saving everything online where we can access it from anywhere. That's what it is. And when we talk about the cloud, again, it's not like some kind of, ooh, that's a really big term. No, it's not. It's just servers that are somewhere. All we're doing is accessing stuff. So anytime you see like a commercial that mentions the cloud, now you can like chuckle and go, okay, I get it now. I get it. So again, we need internet service providers to give us access to that internet as well. So our career in IT for the chapter is, yes, and I said I was going to do this over the course of the semester. The first one is the webmaster. So the webmaster normally works in the marketing team or the marketing department of an organization and works with the marketing team. And they come up with things like what colors the logo is going to be, what kinds of fonts are we supposed to use, what kind of branding are we going to have. Like they have all those things are done within that marketing department. So they also update websites, they update content, they maintain the resources. All those things I told you about earlier. When you're evaluating content on a website, the webmaster should be like tuned in to all of this. We want current information out there. We want the right information out there for our people, our customers, our viewers, whatever we're doing. And we want that out there. And you will notice, and I just added this semester, this is the first time I added this data at the bottom. So the 2023 median pay, according to BLS.gov, if you ever want to go check out median pay for any occupation, go to BLS, Bureau of Labor Statistics.gov. BLS.gov, you can go find that. The median pay for last year, and that's the current data that's out there, is $92,750, which means that half the jobs make more than that. And so 50% roughly makes more than that, and 50 make less. So that's the median 50th percentile of pay. And I'll look to the future for the chapter, just like we did last time. Yes, now we have electronic dashboards. Yes, it does distract me because in the morning, I've gotta like push the heated seat button, then I gotta like push some other buttons, and then of course my daughter's driving with me, I hope she's not watching either. She starts complaining, then I gotta like hit the other buttons for this, and then of course it's on the wrong radio channel, so you gotta push the button for her music to start playing. Then I'm like, oh my God, I'm listening to this while I'm driving. So, yes, there's two entirely different things. So, I do the jazz in here as like a happy median. So anyhow, yes, they are gonna get even more, but now you can actually talk to them. I can't talk to my dashboard, but in new vehicles, I hear and see that you can actually do that, which makes the distractions a lot less. Hey, people online, you were great. You're always a great crowd. I want to thank you. Hey, we're going to do Word Chapter 2 on Thursday. Hope you all have a great rest of your day online. Take care, and we'll see you soon.